is democratic and which is fair to all its citizens, which is very Jewish as well.
Rabbi? Let me just add, from my perspective, a religious Jewish dimension to what Naomi and Jafar and Gershom have so well expressed. Unfortunately, we have the standard of whether buses run on Shabbat or not as the criteria for whether the state of Israel is a Jewish state. To me, one of the major criteria is whether we live up to the holiness code of Judaism, Leviticus 19, based on the formative experience of the Jewish people, namely, the stranger that resides amongst you shall be like one of your own citizens, because you were a stranger in the land of Egypt.
Sounds like in this sense that some Jews are also strangers in this country, not only Arabs.
I'm relating to the issue of the minority, and I'm saying that for me, equality for Israel's Arabs is not just a yardstick for democracy, it's a yardstick for a Jewish state. And indeed, it isn't just about an imperfect democracy, it's about a Jewish state that still needs to go far to reach its own core values.
In just a minute, we're going to try to raise some ideas from our panelists concerning how to go that distance that you're all saying needs to be gone in order to change things for the better. First, I want to remind you, our viewers, that you can pose your questions as well to our panelists. Send them by pressing the link, the button on your web page. Write your question. It'll come to us here in Jerusalem, and after our next round of questions, we'll be giving our panelists a chance to deal with what you're asking. Well, Israel is home, as we all know by now, to Jews, to Muslims, to Christians, to Druze, to some Buddhists as well, as Naomi told us, and there are probably some more Zoroastrians, Baha'is. There are many groups. It's a very multifaceted society. So people ask, okay, this is supposed to be a Jewish homeland. That's why it was founded after the Holocaust, after 2,000 years of exile. That's the historical justification most Jews would give you if you ask them, why is there an Israel? So we wanted to know what Israelis on the streets thought about how Jewish this country should be. Watch.
Everything in my life is Jewish. We do the Shabbat, we celebrate all the holidays, and we fast on Yom Kippur and everything. It's very important for me.
What do you do on Saturdays?
I personally? I travel, I spend time with my family, my friends, watching television. Not something very religious.
The only way we're going to have a state of the Jews is to have a Jewish state.
It's a recent phenomenon in history that we have non-religious states, a very recent, and we're seeing the result in America. I think there's a lot of good results from that in America. We saw the result in the Soviet Union of being completely non-religious.
Even in Eretz Israel, we're going to have peace and harmony, but it's not going to come. It's not going to come by throwing over the Torah or throwing away our Judaism. It's only going to come by embracing our Judaism.
I think the best thing is for it to be a democratic state with freedom of religion.
Everybody has to give an answer, a personal answer to this question.
We should just appreciate what God gave us.
I want to do something I hadn't planned on doing, and that's to begin this next round with a question that just came in from one of our viewers, Peter Petit from Allentown, Pennsylvania, a wonderful town near Philadelphia. Here's his question. So far, this conversation is framed as religious values versus secular political values. Are there Jewish religious values that support a pluralist position, allowing and empowering non-Jews and non-Orthodox Jews to practice in their own way? This may be a pickup on the Leviticus quote you just gave us, but maybe you have something more to say about this, Uri.
Of course I do. I mean, the core principle of Eile ve'eile divrei Elohim chayim. These and these are the words of the living God. The sort of prototype of a controversy between Hillel and Shammai that could differ on major halachic issues, but still accord each other respect and practice parallel to each other their respective interpretations. There are plenty of examples in the Jewish tradition in its healthier days for pluralism within Judaism. It is politics that have been undermining both religion and democracy in Israel, in giving excessive power to groups that, in addition to their claimed interest in strengthening the Jewish character of Israel, are about power and dominance and indeed disrespect for both minority rights, for democracy, for women's rights, and sadly for social justice as a core value of what Judaism is about.
Jafar, as a Christian, whether your priest is in love with you or not, as a Christian, in other words, a person who's not Jewish, in this country that calls itself the Jewish homeland, where do you begin looking for an answer to the questions that are bothering you? What do you do in concrete terms to fight for your rights and not scare all the Jews?
Oh.
That's a tough one.
Yes. First, I think we have to strengthen democracy, to separate state from religion.
Nice words, but how?
How? I think, like in my case, I don't practice church. I don't go to church. I have respect to church. I will protect the people that want to pray to implement their belief. I think what we lack here is real dialogue between secular groups and between people that practice different ways of practicing God. Okay?
How's your organization working for that?
It's not,
what are you doing in
I think we
terms?
are not still there. Unfortunately, the national conflict and the national discrimination that we face, we are not in the place that we are really talking about how to strengthen real democracy and to separate state from religion. This is our problem today. How we will step forward from that problem, it still need, I'm not sure that the peace is the problem. I think we have to be much more brave to put things on the table and say, if you want real democracy, put your religion aside. Put Jews, you can practice whatever you want by being ultra-Orthodox or Nami Hazal. I remember Jews that practicing their Yom Kippur by going to the beach. It was big headlines in the newspapers. They have the right. Pluralism, this is what is needed here. And to respect the diversity of the people that are living here and to create platforms for dialogue between them. We lack platforms for dialogue because the majority, through coalition or through different ways, oppose what they want, oppose, meanwhile, Orthodox values on people like us.
Nomi, how do you do that and at the same time not put Israel's Jewish identity at risk? Or don't you think it's important to safeguard that identity?
But by the way, just to answer your previous question about the Jewish sources of universal values, if you look at the Israeli Declaration of Independence, it guarantees full political rights, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, gender, etc., according to the spirit of the prophets of Israel. That means it's taking in the sources you will find. But to answer your question directly, I appreciate Jaffa's wish for more dialogue. But I also think that some of these things have to be dealt with directly. For many years, I thought you had to legislate. And I tried to change some of these laws. I think I'm the only person in the history of the Knesset that passed in a preliminary reading a basic law on freedom of religion and freedom from religion. It didn't go anywhere, by the way. I am more convinced now. I have amazing faith in the citizens of this state. If they see religious coercion, if they see their steps restricted in one way or another, they're going to find ways of resolving the problems without laws. Let me give you an example. There are now 400,000 people who came to Israel under the law of return, but cannot marry in this country. So either they don't fall in love or they get together.
Why can they not?